You're in tune to your number one station, 98.3 FM, 1280 AM, WJY. Our time stands here at 8:30. We're going to switch over to Studio B and say good morning to you, brother Michael Jenkins.
And good morning to you, Tater. Good morning to everyone out there. Holiday season's here. Hope everybody's feeling good, doing good, and getting ready for the new year. I want to send a shout out to a good buddy of mine down in Gresham, South Carolina, Ernest Leggett. And how do I explain Ernest? Well, I met Ernest when he was at games down at Britain's Neck back in the day. And Ernest stood out to me because basically he was on the sideline coaching. He wasn't the coach, but he was coaching. And I know that those coaches that they had at the time listened to him because he knew what he was talking about. But he's a great basketball fan, a great guy. I got love for that brother. Ernest, my man. Good morning to Miss Nicole Crawford. How are you doing today? Brandon, Paige, Big B, what's going on? Miss Christina Johnson, how are you doing? Miss Christina, please tell me how my little girl is doing. James Grice, what's up, my brother? Now, for those of you who don't know, you don't have to get me on the radio here. You can get me on, obviously, the internet. You can get me on the internet at wjyradio.com, or you can download the app, and you can listen that way as well, on the road, on the go, wherever you are. You can be in Newfoundland, you can be in Hawaii, and you can hang out with us. I'd love if you did that, if you can't get to the radio. Mr. Carl Brantley, good morning, sir. How are you today? How the boys doing? Of course, right now we have the state championship football game going on. And they played 3 games yesterday. They will play 3 more today, as we have 6 divisions ranging from single A to 5A Division 1 and 2. That's what makes up the additional division. But yesterday, I got to tell you, these games have not been, at least the semifinals was just not competitive. In most instances, there was a lot of blowouts going on, and state championship wasn't as bad so far, but it's not been great. I also want to send a shout out to Oliver Dawson Stadium, because that's the venue that they are playing at this year. That place looks great. I mean, I think it's so wonderful that state is, allowing this to happen, that they are hosting this tournament. Usually in the past it was hosted at University of South Carolina, but I think it's better suited for South Carolina State University. So, shout out to state. Okay, last night you had 3 games, as I said. You had the 3As. You had the 5A Division 2, and you had the single A. Those were all settled last night. And your winners are Oceanside Collegiate, no surprise there, 28-7 over Belton Honeypath. And I was told on the internet that on Facebook that there was a big fight afterwards. So that's not good. But Jarrell Pinckney, a buddy down there, said that it wasn't by Oceanside. And it would make sense that it wouldn't be Oceanside that is doing this, because they won. Usually it's the losers that kind of take it personal and want to do some extra stuff that they ain't there for. Hello. In the 5A Division 2, the winner there was Northwestern. And Northwestern beat Irmo by a score of, get this, and it's a state championship game, 55-13, really? I mean, come on now. It wasn't even competitive. I mean, how did Irmo get there, and who did they play during the year to make people think that they are a state championship contender? Because they apparently were not. So Irmo gets blasted 55-13. This one, I was watching some of on TV last night, and it's on CW TV. And Bamberg, Earhart, and Lamar. Now, guys have been telling me all year that, oh, Bamberg, Earhart is really good. I didn't know. Lamar knows now because they got handled last night by Bamberg, Earhart by a score of 35-21. So those three are done. Now, today. And today you have local South Florence versus South Point for the Class 4A state crown. South Florence is going for their second straight title. South Florence has gone to the finals the last 3 years. I'm having coffee, folks. Have some coffee with me. It's not very good, though. So, South Florence, let's take a look at what South Florence has done this year. In fact, let's take a look at both of them. So, let me go and say Strom Thurmond will play Hampton County for the 2A title at 4 o'clock. South Florence is playing early today, 12 o'clock, against South Point. And then the nightcap will be a rematch of last year's 5A Division I, Somerville versus Dutch Fork. Now, before I move on, I want to say that Oceanside Collegiate, I guess people already knew that they were going to be a problem because they beat Dutch Fork earlier in the year. And Dutch Fork was the number one team in the state for a big part of the year. But South Florence, for their part, what have they done this year and how did they get here? How did they get here? Well, right now they're sporting a record of 13-1. And let's take a look at their schedule and how they came to be on Championship Saturday. I think it's good they're playing at 12 o'clock today. People can get down to Orangeburg, South Florence fans, and get back here without much of a problem. It's a straight shot almost. Well, Bruins started off the season, and by the way, these people are building a dynasty. You can go ahead and call them a dynasty right now. Because if they win today, that's going to be their second straight, third time they've gone, and nobody around here is doing that. Simple as that. So they beat West Florence, their rival, 37-6 to open the season. They followed that up with a win over Division I 5A contender for the day's crown. They beat Somerville in overtime, 22-21. Then they got blown out by Northwestern, 55-35. I guess Northwestern is really that good, and they pretty much showed it yesterday. They beat them 55. They lost to them 55-35. I can't say I know who FDH is, but they beat them 65-7. Took care of Crestwood 42-0. Beat Darlington 57-6. Beat Lakewood 49-0. So they went through Sumter County like with a big stick and just was knocking everything out the park. 42-0, 57-6, 49-0. No, wrong. 42-0, 49-0 over Lakewood. They slaughtered Sumter County this year. Wilson, they got them 35-7 to beat Lower Richland 57-7. Beat Hartsville 51-23. Beat Darlington 47-7. They played Darlington 2 times. Why would Darlington want to play? Why would they want to play these guys twice? I wouldn't. But Bishop England, they beat them 43-0. Oh, that was a playoff game, probably. Wasn't likely. 43-0 Bishop England. North Augusta 49-14. Great Collegiate Academy 55-14. And today they will tussle with South Point. John Nichols, my man. John, you still up in Minnesota, man? Holla. And then taking a look at South Point now. South Point. No, I'm not taking a look at South Point. Because is this it? No, that's not it either. Okay. South Point High School. And by the way, if South Point pulls off the upset today, and that's what it will be, against South Lawrence, you will have two teams from Rock Hill crowned as football state champs this year. So South Point is 13-1, identical record to South Lawrence. They started their season off losing. And the team they lost to just so happens is the team that Jimmy Vereen, Mullen's own Jimmy Vereen, is going to go up against in the state championship when you have Millbrook versus Huff for like the 7A or 8A state championship up in North Carolina. So apparently Huff is good. Jimmy, I hope you're listening. Y'all know these boys can be a problem here. They knocked off South Point. It was a close one though, 14-10. And then staying in Rock Hill, South Point took on Rock Hill High School and beat them 28-6. And because they're up on that border up there, they're playing teams from North Carolina, those border teams like in Charlotte and everything. So they beat West Charlotte in overtime, 10-7, before nipping rival Northwestern 27-23. They beat AC Florida 35-10, beat Camden 28-7, York 41-0. Lancaster got a 48-7 whipping from South Point. Dreer didn't have much luck either. They got beat 42-0. And Richland Northeast High School ran into an obvious buzzsaw there. They got beat 70-0 by South Point. And I think at that point people were probably saying, you know what, South Point is going to be a problem. And apparently they are. So South Florence better watch themselves today. Buford didn't have much luck against them either in the playoff. I think it's a playoff game. And Buford got beat 63-13. They then handled Emerald 49-0. They beat AC Flora 56-14. And they handled in the state semifinal Westside. They beat them 40-0. So South Point is for real. Let's take a look at some of their statistics comparatively with South Point. Now, rushing yards per game. South Florence, 235.6 a game. They rushed for a total this year of 3,299 yards. When I first saw that number, I was like, oh boy, South Florence, they're probably tops in rushing. But then I went to South Point's side of the ledger, and they rushed for 243.6 yards per game, and they topped out with a total gains of 3,411 yards rushing. Passing. Well, I said, South Florence has got to be better in passing. Everybody's loving South Florence. People think they're going to go and win again. And when I look at these passing numbers, South Point has the advantage because South Point is rushing for 200.7 yards per game for a grand total passing yards of 2,810 this year. And then you have South Florence. They only passed for 137.7 yards per game. But let's not forget, South Florence beat some tough teams this year. Looking down, let's see. Last year, South Florence. Yeah. Oh, okay. So look down to Strom Thurmond and Hampton, 12-2 for Strom Thurmond, a team that I really cannot ever root for. And I know maybe it's wrong with me. It's not the kids' fault. They probably don't even know about the history of that name. But that name can't get past my throat right here. I know too much. I watched too many history documentaries. I wouldn't want my kid going to a school like Strom Thurmond. Name Strom Thurmond. But anyway, little sidebar. Hampton County will be their opponent. You got Somerville and Dutch Fork. This is a rematch from last year. in which Dutch Fork won. I'm sure Somerville is looking to turn that around this year, but right now, Dutch Fork looks like the people. Okay, let's see. How about we give, let's look at Dutch Fork right here real quick. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting final today. I'm glad it's on TV because obviously the weather is not nice. Not at all. So we'll turn to basketball. Now, as far as basketball goes, I saw my first game this week. And that game was at Marion High School. It was Marion versus Latta. Marion prevailed. They showed a lot coming into this season. They're going to be very good. They got a few implants that are really thriving for them. Latta has some work to do, but I'm sure they'll get them together, and Chris will have these guys ready for conference for sure. But Marion has a few kids that are really, really special. One of them, a kid named Ian Goss, and I had heard about him being in town and being on Marion's basketball team this year, but I didn't know him. I knew of his dad, but I didn't know him, and I know of his aunt, Rhodey Goss, who was a beast for Marion many years ago. So I got to see the youngster the other night, and I got to tell you, I'm impressed. Because he is about 6'9", long wingspan. Do I dare say he's athletic too? Because he proved how athletic he was in the next game that I seen them play, where he took a pass on a 3-on-2 break, and he got the ball dished to the left, and he put the ball on the floor for a couple of dribbles and, curled it in off the glass. I was really impressed with that move. But he did a lot of other things during that game and the game before that tells me that Marion has themselves a bona fide potential superstar down the road. They also have a youngster, Joshua Grant. Hope I pronounced his name right. But he is the grandson of Wilbur Grant and the son of Josh Grant. And Josh was a little point guard for Mullins some years ago. And I learned about Wilson, but I learned about the father, Wilbur, after I got down, and someone said he was a great football player. I wasn't here at the time. But he is also the nephew of Essence Grant. Now, I know all you old-timers out there know who Essence Grant is. Essence Grant was one of the best point guards Marion County's ever seen. And without upsetting people by picking who was better during this era, she's right up there at the top. Jessica Gerald is up there. You also have to consider Connie Reeves from Terrells Bay, who arguably is the best point guard that ever came out of Marion County, the best girl point guard that ever come out of there. But Essence was different because she was a prodigy. When Essence came along, I had heard about her, but I hadn't seen her play. She was just at the time maybe 10, 12. And I went to a rec tournament at Marion's rec center, and she was there. That's the first time I seen her play. And it was unmistakable at that moment that this girl was going to be really special. Turns out she was. I don't know how many times she made All-State, but I know she led that team, the Mullins girls basketball team, which I think might be the best girls basketball team I've ever seen in Marion County. or one of them. She led them to a state championship as the point guard. But she came along at the same time Gerald came along. I'm pretty sure Essence was in the 7th grade, and I think she told me she was asked to move to varsity. I don't know if she went in the 7th or the 8th, but at least by 8th grade she was on varsity, as was Gerald. These two, they were prodigies. People talked about them, but they talked about them in hushed tones. Like, it was almost like it was a secret how good these kids were, you know? So that's Essence Grant's nephew, as is Charles White, is her nephew as well. And Charles White is the star player for the Marion High School Swamp Fox team this year. He's a senior. But another guy that really got my attention was a kid named Roderick. And big kid. Dickerson. Roderick Dickerson. Now, when I went to the game the other night, I didn't really expect him. Because I seen him play in middle school. Back then, he was trying to be a point guard. I didn't like him at point guard, but he was getting the job done. Well, now he's moved up. He's in the 10th grade this year. And by the way, Ian is just in the 10th grade as well. And Grant is an 11th grader. So you have a core of these three guys right here that are going to be around for the next couple of years or so. But back to Roderick. Came in off the bench, throwing his body around, goes about 6'3" and change. I saw he's listed at about 218, 220. This kid has got, he's got a serious motor, okay? As well as a big athletic body. And because of his experience as point guard in the middle school, he can put the ball on the floor. He made a couple of moves last night that really kind of blew me away the other night. So you got him. He's a power forward with skills inside, and he can do some things on the perimeter as well. And he can take the pressure off of the defense, off the ball handler, the way he can handle the basketball. So that was a real surprise to me. Marion played. They played. Oh God! I think they played last night, but I didn't. I hadn't seen the score for that. But they played Atlantic Collegiate Academy on Thursday night, and well, they outplayed them for 3 quarters. Then the 4th quarter happened. And it kind of all just fell apart. Atlantic Collegiate has a little guard that absolutely did so much damage to Marion the other night. He absolutely destroyed them, the truth be told. I think he made, Marion was up 14, 12 in the 4th. And down the stretch, this little kid, I want to say he hit all of the final 3 baskets to nip Marion by 4 points. Marion's game closing has got to get better, because that was a winnable game. They should have won that game, maybe going away. But that didn't take away from the fact there were a lot of great things that I seen out there on the floor for them. Marion could be a contender this year. Hadn't seen Mullins play yet, but I'll see them this week. Marion girls put on a nice performance the other night as well against Latta, where they could have lost this game, but they didn't. Because Latta, they could have lost this game. Latta had them kind of on the run a little bit, but they had to tamp down on their defense, and they did. They made some big buckets. Malia, star player, was outstanding. I told her mom, I said, this girl, I just love watching her play because she's so tough and physical. She has skills now, but she has got heart and grit. And that's what the team showed the other night. Heart and grit. That's going to be something they're going to need to continue to do this season if they're going to be successful. Shatira Bethea, tough girl, physical, great athlete. She did some things the other night that kind of really helped them get that victory. Now, they ran up against Atlantic Collegiate in their next game, and that didn't turn out as well. As I said, that was a heavy lift for them because these girls are really good. And there are some kids. There's a girl from Conway that transferred over to Atlantic Collegiate that is just a straight baller. And she was basically doing everything she wanted to do. But it wasn't just her. They had about 3 or 4 girls in that team that's going to make Atlantic Collegiate a problem this year going forward. But as I said, I'm optimistic about the Lady Swan Foxes. Mullins girls played Wilson. I didn't go to that game because there was some cockamamie arrangement. I'm sure it was necessary, but where there was only JVs and varsity girls playing. This was the same night the Atlantic Collegiate was in Marion. But now, I got about 4 minutes to go, and I want to touch a little bit on a subject that was a big topic a week ago, and that's the Cowboys. Yeah, the Cowboys are feeling really good after Thanksgiving. And then this week happened. I said then I was impressed with how the Cowboys had gotten better during the year, but they didn't get that much better. I don't feel they got playoff better. Of course, some of you may disagree with me out there. So they lost to Detroit Thursday night, which puts them in a bad situation, and which I think pretty much has sealed their fate as a possible playoff contender. Yeah, the Eagles stumbled, and they didn't look good stumbling either. It's not the Cowboys' year this year. Cowboy fans, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, it ain't your year. Sorry. I can't say it's the Eagles' year either. Because they've had ups and downs. They've won games they should have lost. But that's not a bad thing. I still think they're going to be in the mix this year. But I can't say that I'm thinking they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. Now, a team I do think is going to win the Super Bowl, if you look at their record, you wouldn't think they were. And that would be the Baltimore Ravens. That's the team I'm pulling for too. Because I want Lamar Jackson to win. Because I'm tired of him catching all this flack from all these people. So that's who I want to win this year. Looking at some other teams, the Warriors, they look awful. Steph is hurt, which means they can't win. OKC is looking crazy. I want somebody to start beating up on them. And so far, nobody has. They only lost 1 game. LeBron James. He broke his streak was broken this week of consecutive games in double figures. Of course, over the years that the streak continued, LeBron James did some things to extend this streak when it may have already should have ended. Well, it ended for sure a couple of nights ago. It's a great streak. I can't take anything away from him. I'm not a LeBron James fan, but that's a heck of a streak right there. Almost 1,300 games in a row with 10 points or more. I got to give a man his props. I'm serious. So that's what's going on here. The Buffalo Bills, TJ Sanders, I'm seeing little things about him. He may be on his way back. Zay Leggett is with the Panthers, and they're kind of struggling right now. They're up and down. He hasn't had a great year. Maybe still some time for him to put his stamp on this season because a lot of people are expecting that. Anyway, Taylor says it's time for me to go. I'll be back next week with more. Have a wonderful, safe week. Peace.